them. And you have to, sometime when we have a time, we will let you know. What is that Mus'haf Fatima? What did that Mus'haf Fatima contain? Everything after the death of the Holy Prophet till the day of judgment, every single act that would be taking place was dictated to Hazrat Zahra, Salamullahi alayha, in that Mus'haf Fatima. Anyway, just leave that for now. But the Imams knew from the power and the ilm given to them by Allah that what is going to happen. They were aware of the ghaibat of the 12th Imam. And so preparation that started from those times. In order to prepare the people, at the time when the Imams would be there, if there was a problem, what would happen? They would knock at the door of the 5th Imam, the door of the 6th Imam in Medina. Yabna Rasulullah, we've got this problem. What is the solution? He'll say haram. He'll say jaizun. He said wajibun. But now when the Imam is not there, what is the solution? So the people would need to be trained. The ulama would need to be trained that a time will come when one of us will not be with you. For that period of time, we need to train you. That how would you then extract the rulings of God from the Quran and the Sunnah? We sitting over here, I'm talking about the Ma'asumeen. We sitting over here can see Lawh Mahfuz. You ask me anything, I can see the Lawh Mahfuz and I can tell you. And Bihar al-Anwar and Usul al-Kafi has numerous, refer to Kitab al-Hujjah of Usul al-Kafi. Your mind will get flabbergasted as to what these traditions talk about. How they have access to the, when Ziyarat Jamia says, you are the khaza'in ulumillah, you are the treasure houses of the ulum of God. You need to read these ahadith to know what it means. How they have access to it. How God has given them access to all this ulum. He says, when you ask me a question, I can look at Lawh Mahfuz and tell you this is the hukum of God. But a time will come when we will not be there. There will be one of us, but he will not be in front of you. To prepare you for that time, we have to make you aware. We have to prepare you and ready you that when one of us is not there, how are you going to take out the rulings of God? And that was setting up the foundations of ijtihad. And that is why we've got numerous traditions which the Ma'asumeen have said. Alayna ilqa'ul usul. We will give you formulae. We will give you theorems. We will give you rules. Major rules. Alayna ilqa'ul usul. We'll give you fundamental rules. Wa alaykum at-tafri. From those fundamental rules to take out subsidiary rules is your job, which is ijtihad. What do I mean by that? Look, in terms of fiqh, in terms of halal, in terms of haram, in terms of mustahabat, we've got two sciences in the Islamic academia. One is called the science of usul the ilm al-fiqh, where you get halal and haram. But in order to reach the decision on what is halal and haram, you need to have certain formulae, certain rules, certain regulations, certain theorems from the Ma'asumeen. That is called ilm al-usul. Ilm al-usul, when somebody is very good, then he is able to derive the halal and haram and reach ilm al-fiqh. So the precursor to ilm al-fiqh is ilm al-usul, which are the basis, on the basis of which the fiqh rulings are taken out. Now imams in those times would give you those major rules and major formulae. So you have one formulae, but that formulae is so profound that from one theory, one formulae, a mujtahid can take out at least 200 rulings. From one theory. So for example, qa'idatul istishab. Qa'idatul istishab is probably one sentence. La tanqudul yaqeen bishak. This qa'idatul istishab, which the imams have said, is one sentence. La tanqudul yaqeen bishak. Don't break your yaqeen with shak. This is taught for 2 years in Bahat Kharij. 2 years. One sentence. How did it start? A person comes to the 6th Imam. A person comes to the 5th Imam. Yabna Rasulullah, I went outside, I did my wudu in the morning when I left home. It's time for dhuhr. I'm doubting. Is my wudu gone? Or is it still there? If it is gone, then I will need to do wudu and pray dhuhr and asr. But if it is still there, then I don't need to do wudu. I can pray dhuhr and asr. What do I do? Do I do wudu again? Because I don't know whether I've broken it. At that time, Imam comes up with this one sentence. This one sentence, La tanqudul yaqeen bishak. Don't break your yaqeen with shak. Your yaqeen was that you did wudu. Now you're having shak that your wudu is broken. Stick with your original decision. That you had your wudu, pray your namaz al-dhuhr, pray your namaz al-asr without doing any more wudu. This one sentence is taught by the maraji to the mujtahideen in Bahat Kharij for 2 years. This one sentence, which is called Qa'idatul Istishab, when a mujtahid understands this with one ruling, with one formula, with one theorem, he can take out at least 200 rulings of fiqh. 200 rulings. And from right across all the babs, whether it is taqleed, whether it is taharat, whether it is salat, whether it is saum, whether it is nikah, whether it is waqf, everything, one sentence can take out at least 200 rulings. This is preparation of ijtihad. So that when imam is not there, the rulings of the imam is used to solve the problems of the people. You get me what I'm saying? अब ये आप समझ चुके, चलिए आगे चलते हैं. ये तो आप समझ चुके कि कायदा इस्तिसाब किस तरह है. I want to take you to one. So just as in fiqh, the imams would give these formula that would last the test of time up to the day of judgment. Why do I say up to the day of judgment? Because this religion has to survive up to the day of judgment. If it has to survive up to the day of judgment, then it has to possess the tools to answer questions for people, not just now, but even 10,000 years later, because we don't know when Qiyamah is going to come. And you don't know what rulings or what issues would come 10,000 years later. So for example, things that are today was something that was not even fathomable by the people of those times. So for example, surrogacy. Whoever thought about surrogacy and surrogate delivery in the olden days? Whoever thought that somebody would put her womb out for rent? Nobody thought about that. Cloning. Cloning was never in the minds of the people in those times. So if you say the imams would answer every question in those times, but what happens if the imam goes away and dies? Shahadat ho gayi unki, and the 12th imam goes into parda-e-ghaibat. Then who will answer the questions? If imam went on single issues, then there would be numerous issues that would come in the years down the line, and there would be no answers to them. So the imam says, we will not only give you answers to individual issues, we will also give you rulings. Those rulings will answer the questions of every issue that will come up to the day of judgment. So now, for example, cryptocurrency, bitcoins. Whoever thought about bitcoins? Credit cards. Whoever thought about credit cards 1400 years ago? Similarly, another 1400 years ago, things would come that we don't even know what is going to come. So there has to be a ruling whereby there are generalized rules which the mujtahid need to know, which will help them solve those individual problems that would come, say, 10,000 years from now, because we don't know when Qiyamah is going to come, correct? Having understood that, this is Qaida Istishab. One rule, one formula, 200 mas'ala solved by the maraji. Just by one. La tanqudul yaqeen bi-shak, 4. 4 words is able to solve more than 200 masail. This is what these 4-word sentences, this qaida together form ilmul usul, which then our maraja say, with the equipment and the tools given to us by the 5th imam and the 6th imam, we are able to solve all the problems coming up to the day of judgment. This is in preparation. You understand what I'm saying? This is about fiqh. But there's also about the society and issues that imams have said. They've given rules that we need to follow. And there is one problem that we've got in our community, wherever we go. And that problem we need to solve out now. What is it? Between the Ahl Tasannun and the Ahl Tashayyu, there are a lot of problems in terms of fiqh. कि कौन सी चीज़ सही है, कौन सी चीज़ गलत है. और नमाज को तो छोड़ी, नमाज को तो बात की बात है. नमाज से पहले जो शर्त है नमाज है, तहारत, whether it is wudu or whether it is ghusl. अरबी में जो है वो जुमला इज़ा फ़ात शर्त फ़ात अल मशरूत, कि जब शर्त ही नहीं है तो मशरूत चला जाएगा. नमाज जो है मशरूत है. Namaz is something that requires a condition, a shart, which is wudu. If wudu is gone, that namaz is itself gone. Ab wudu ke par maraka hai. There is a problem with wudu. One of the very contentious issues between the Sunnis and the Shias is the issue of masa. Masa on the feet. An overwhelming number of the ulama and the a'imma of the Ahl Tasannun are of the belief that al-mas al-khufain is permissible. Khufain means anything that covers the feet. It could be jurab, it could be socks, it could be shoes. In the Ahl Tasannun, whether it is Maliki, Hanbali, Shafi'i or Hanafi, they all agree that in times it is permissible to do masa on shoes or on socks. When you come to the Ahl Tashayyu, this has been absolutely and categorically said no. You cannot do masa on the socks. You cannot do masa on the shoes. To such an extent that I have seen ahadith from the 5th Imam and 6th Imam. Man masaha alal khuffain, one who does masa on the shoes or on the socks, khalaf Allah, he has opposed God. Wa khalafa rasulahu, he has opposed the Prophet. Wa khalafa al-kitab, and he's opposed the Quran. So between these two, very clear demarcation. The Ahl Sunnah say you can do masa on the feet, on the shoes. Ahl Tashayyu say you can't. Now how does this come about? A Ravi comes to the fifth Imam. He says, Yabna Rasulullah, can you tell me what is happening? Because we see the Amma means the Ahl Sunnah. So they are doing masa on the feet. Some of our people are also saying it is permissible to do masa on the feet. What do you say? He says, La Jews, it's not permissible. And then those sentences. Whoever does it, he's opposing God. Khalafa mukhalafat karna. To stand in opposition to God. Wa khalafa rasulahu, is to stand up in opposition to the Holy Prophet. Wa khalafa al-kitab, to stand up in opposition to the book of God. The person says, but we have got this. Somebody was narrating that he heard from somebody that at the time of Amirul Mu'mineen, when Amirul Mu'mineen was doing wudu, he saw Amirul Mu'mineen doing masa on the shoes. एक मर्तबा जो है इमाम बाक़र अलैहिस्सलाम नाराज़ हो जाते, बहुत गज़बनाक हो जाते, बोलते कज़िबू, they're lying. And then he gives a ruling. He says, understand this, whatever the people do, what is important for you is the ruling of Quran. The ruling of Quran is muqaddam upon the af'al of the people. This is similar to that qaida istishaba, and I will tell you why. He says, understand this very clearly. Whatever the people do, understand the ruling of kitab, that means Quran, supersedes the rulings of the people. Because the people are not hujjat, the Quran is hujjat. Why am I saying this to you? The reason I'm saying this to you is that we've got a problem in our community. We base our actions, the authenticity and the correctness of our actions based on what other people do. So how many times have you heard something that is not right, and when it is pointed out to them, and I'll give you a few examples. These are real examples, real life examples, and nobody needs to feel any upset about it. How many times have you not seen things taking place in certain jamaats, and when you talk to the people, they say, wo jamaat mein to hota aa raha hai. वो जमात में तो हो रहा है. Because that jamaat is doing something which is not correct, but because they're doing, we need to do. How many times have you not heard from the youths when we talk about chess? About the chess it is mentioned, it is haram, yes. आपको बताएं हदीस जो है वो शतरंज के सिलसिले में आपका दिमाग काम नहीं करेगा. आपका दिमाग काम नहीं करेगा कि कितनी बुरी चीज है ये chess. To look at a chessboard is like looking at the anatomy of a certain anatomy of one's mother. Looking at a chessboard, not even playing. Riwayat hai hamare paas. Forget about playing. Looking at a chessboard is that bad. And how many times people turn back and say, but Sheikh, you can see them playing in Iran. Iran mein to khela ja raha hai. Ab Iran mein khela ja raha to phir uska matlab jaiz ho gaya. How many times have you heard when we tell them, Baba, music is haram? What do they say? But you can hear music on national television in Iran. When did the music, national television of Iran becomes hujjat for us? When did the people of Iran becomes hujjat for us? The fifth Imam has told us, the ruling of Quran supersedes the af'al and the actions of the people. Kitabullah is muqaddam ala af'al an-nas. The book of God supersedes the actions of the people. If the book of God is saying something, but the people are doing something, whom will you follow? The Imam has told us and given us, and you can see this going all around. So, but they are playing in the lobby chess. So Iran mein chal raha. Khud himself, Ayatollah Khamenei said, the national television is not hujjat for the people. But you have people coming to us and telling, oh, in national television you have music, so they must be right. Oh, they play chess, so they must be right. It even percolates down into our families. That's the problem. How many times, I don't know how many of you heard it, but I know people have talked about कि एक इंसान जो दाढ़ी नहीं रखता, He just shaves his beard. भाई दाढ़ी क्यों नहीं रख रहे हो तुम? दाढ़ी क्यों नहीं रख रहे हो? My wife doesn't like it. Oh ho! So the wife doesn't like it, so you shave your beard, huh? और आपको पता है दाढ़ी के सिलसिले में अब क्या होता है, देखिए बात पे से बात निकल जाएगी तो बहुत लेट हो जाएगा. ये दाढ़ी के सिलसिले में हम आपका भी जिक्र होगा तो हम बताएंगे कि कितनी बुरी चीज़ और कितना जो है वो अइम्मा मुतनफ़िर होता है इसके नज़दीक, कितना जो है वो उनको ठेस पहुंचती है. अब आप पूछेंगे why are you shaving? Because my wife doesn't appear, she wants me to be clean shaven. Brad Pitt. How about Brad Pitt? What Brad Pitt? Kitabullah muqaddam ala af'al al-mu'minin, af'al al-nas. The book of God supersedes all actions of the people. How many times have you heard ladies not wearing proper hijab? You're not supposed to show the contours of the body. You know that, yeah? You teach them to the people in madrasa. Come on. You teach them to the people in the madrasa. You should not, the hijab should not be attractive. It should not be so thin that the internals of the body can be seen. And it should not be so tight that the contours of the body are seen. And yet we find our ladies moving out with clothes that absolutely magnify the contours of the body. Baba, why are you wearing this? Why are you interfering when my husband has no option to it? He's okay with it. Hope, since when has your husband become hujjat for this? Quran says something, your husband says something, you want to give preference to your husband. Quran says something, your wife says something, you want to give preference to the wife. Imam Baqir says, remember, the book of God is muqaddam ala af'al nas. Whatever the people say, they may be doing masa on the khuffain, but the book of God says no, so you will not do it. And this has been going on right through. There was a group of people who came to, I'm rushing very quickly, look, I'm looking at the time. A group of people came, and this is not just with one imam. All the imams have been saying this. You cannot compare anything to the book of God. You cannot compare anything to the rulings of God. Anything that stands up in opposition to the rulings of God needs to become subservient to the rulings of God. In Khurasan, one imam was there, the 8th imam, Ali ibn Musa rada salawatullahi wa salamu. Many times, so when you have the 8th imam in Khurasan, once a group of traders, they made up a substantial profit, but they were expecting some hard times. So they sent one person as their representative to the 8th imam, saying what? He comes to the imam and says, Yabna Rasulullah, we are your Shias, we love you. We've got a substantial amount of khums. I'm representing a group of traders. He says, what is the point? What do you come to me for? He says, this is regarding khums. Have you come to give khums? He says, no, I've been asked and I'm representing those traders. They say we are expecting a difficult year coming forward. So we want you to waive the khums for this year. Next year we will give a lot of charity. We will give a sadaqat. We'll give few things. But this year forgive us. Maaf kar dijiye. Waive it off. Imam turns to him and says, you cannot have the authority to decide when and how to give khums. إِنَّمَا غَنِمْتُمْ بِشَيْءٍ فَإِنَّ لِلَّهِ خُمُسَهُ. This is the Quran's verse. You have to give khums. You can't take decisions on your wealth in opposition to the Quran. And you're coming to me to nullify the rulings of the Quran just so that you can be at ease. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. And this is the problem that we have ourselves within our society and within our community. I'll give you an example of that. And it's so pertinent, yeah. In the olden days, as to understanding how when you violate the rulings of God, yeah, what it really means. In the olden days, yeah, before I just complete another 7 minutes. In the olden days, this is just in the immediate aftermath of the revolution of Iran. बस इनकलाब ईरान जो है वो पीरूज हुआ था और बस उसके बाद में उस वक्त जोश बहुत था. यानी लोगों के दरमियान आप जो पूछे जाके पुराने ज़माने में तो इनकलाब के बाद एक जो जज्बा था ना लोगों का भाईचारा, एक दूसरे की मदद करना, एक अजीब व गरीब था. It's been diluted because of various activities, foreign powers interference, putting a lot of money to change the society, to corrupt the society. वो सब जाने दीजिए. Things are not what it is now, what it was in the immediate aftermath of the revolution. तो एक दास्तान है, अब समझ लीजिए सही है गलत है, रेफरेंस ना पूछे, I don't have a reference to it. So to show how certain people in those days would try to pass a message. तो पुराने ज़माने में जब इनकलाब के बाद जो है you still have taxi drivers, had taxi drivers in those days. So there was this old taxi driver, he was doing his work in Tehran. And every people, ये पांच उंगली बराबर नहीं होती है. But if somebody is this, they're all different people. So even in those days, in the aftermath of the revolution, there were people who hijab here and there. So this taxi driver in Tehran, अब देखिए, अब तसव्वुर करिएगा, ये इनकलाब हो चुका है. ये जो इनकलाब वाक़ई हो चुकी और जो है वो जज्बा बहुत है दीन की तरफ. And this is an old man who's seen what Imam Khomeini did, who's seen what Shah did, who has a comparison of both generations. And I was speaking to one of these taxi drivers in Iraq. So we were talking about these taxi drivers who are old are very jazbati, they're very passionate. So we were talking about that fatwa of Ayatollah Sistani against the ISIS. And one fatwa and 500,000 people came out, and then ISIS was wiped out and they were advancing, that. Yeah? So he said, I was one, you old man, 60, 65. He says, I had gone to fight. I said, yeah, because we were talking to him. And did you go to fight? He says, yes, I killed 4 or 5 ISIS people. Oh, all right. He says, after the fight, after the ISIS was vanquished, yeah, I'm telling you, unka jazba kitna tha. After the fight, the government called me. They said, we came to know that you killed 4 to 5 of these ISIS people. We want to give you a reward. Paise dena hai. He said, I refuse to take it. He said, I refuse to take it. He says, why aren't you taking it? He says, you think I came to fight because of money? You think I came to fight because of your government? I came to fight because my marja told me to go out and fight. I don't want your money. He says, I didn't take the money. This is that old people with that Josh. उस ज़माने में भी जो ईरान में a taxi driver, he's driving, a lady comes with a husband. Again, those old, there were times people say, I'm not very, this thing, I can't put statistics, but people say in those days, Tehran used more cosmetics than Paris would use. So these husband and wife get inside. So this taxi driver looks into the rear view mirror. You know how Tehran is, lipstick, falan. Now, ab sochiye wo josh us zamane ka kis tarah, and he has to pass a message. Yes, bhai, samajh rahe ho? Tumhe sun gaye tumhara. So he's looking, Then he turns to that lady and says, in rang ke shima man dost na dharam. This lipstick of yours, I don't like the color of it. Next time when you come out, can you change the color? Khabana. कितना भी बदबख्त इंसान हो, लेकिन जब ज़ौजा के निस्बत कोई बात करे तो जो है वो वाक़न अगर तो बहुत ही बदबख्त होगा जो उसकी गैरत नहीं जागेगी. So as soon as he hears that old man, he says, he flies in rage. The lady flies in rage. What are you talking? Look at your age. What are you talking? You're talking about my lipstick. You're telling me you don't like the color of my lipstick. You want me to change it to another color. What are you talking about? He says, yes, I'm telling you, I don't like this color. Next time, please change the color. So now the man also interferes. What are you talking? Look at your age. You should be ashamed of yourself. Sharam nahi aati jo hai aurton ke saath aisi baat karte. Bolte sharam kis baat ki? Bolte she's my wife and you're talking to her like this. He says, yes, she may be your wife, but this lipstick is for me. She may be your wife, but this lipstick is for me. He says, how come so? He says, if she wanted to put lipstick for you, she would have put it into the house, not outside the house. Outside the house, this lipstick is for me. That's why I told her, I don't like this color, change it. यानी बताने की मतलब है कि जो है हम, this is what happens. हमेशा किताब खुदा मुकद्दम है इंसान के अफ़ाल पर, इंसान के अमाल पर, लोगों के अमाल पर. So this is what we have to understand. Never give in to what others are doing. Oh, वो कर दो तो सही होगा. वो करते तो सही नहीं हो सकता. वो हुज्जत खुदा नहीं है. ज़ौजा हुज्जत खुदा नहीं है. शौहर हुज्जत खुदा नहीं है. कुरान हुज्जत खुदा है. अहले बैत हुज्जत खुदा है. रसूल खुदा हुज्जत खुदा है. अगर हर वो चीज़, हर वो अमल, कितना भी हो लोग, कितने भी हो लोग, अगर कुरान की मुखालिफ है तो उनको छोड़ना होगा. वो याद है आपको हदीस, रसूल खुदा के अम्मार को जो है वो वसीयत करते थे कि अम्मार, remember, always remember one thing. I am going to go away very soon. There will be a time when you and Ali will be together. If you see at that point of time the entire world going in one direction, but you see Ali going in one direction, go with Ali, because al-haqqu ma'a Ali. अब जो है बहुत जल्दी, because I've got another 5 minutes. Coming back to one fadilat of the 12th of the 5th Imam. देखिए इमाम के सिलसिले से थियरम और फॉर्मूला बता दिया गया कि इमाम ने हमको बताया कि हर वो चीज़ जो कुरान और किताब के मुखालिफ है, कितने भी लोग उसको अंजाम देते हो, वलो उलमा अंजाम देते हो, कोई हुज्जत नहीं है, कोई वैल्यू नहीं है, क्योंकि हुज्जत खुदा की सिर्फ किताब है, या अहले बैत है, या रसूल खुदा है. And this is what we have to inculcate in our lives. Just because something is being taken place is not justification for us to do it. So that's one point. But coming to the one fadail, because आज तो विलादत है ना, एक फजीलत सुन लीजिए, एक फदाइल में से एक फजीलत पांचवें इमाम की, बताने के लिए कि the imam's authority spreads how much. These kids need to know. These kids need to know what is the authority in the sphere of dominance that Allah has graced to this Ma'asumeen alayhi salam. It's the duty of the parents, yeah. You see, even birds, when they want to feed, they take the worms and put it into the mouth of the kids. We just leave our kids to the madrasa. No, we need to sit with them and teach them. We need to tell them. We need to drill and grill into their minds the love of Ali, the love of Ahlul Bayt. Ravi says, Ibn Utayba says, the name of the Ravi is Ibn Utayba. He's saying, I was one day with the fifth Imam, and I saw a person come to him. बस ये आखिरी में दास्तान कज़िया है, सुन लीजिएगा ताकि पता चले कि सही तरह जो है influence, the scope of the influence of the Ahlul Bayt is how much. ये तो बस एक नमूना है, कभी मौका मिला तो आपको बताएंगे, आप जो है वो आंखों से आंसू निकलते हुए घर जाइएगा इंशाअल्लाह. ये मौका नहीं है, टाइम कितना कम है, लेकिन कभी मौका मिला ना कि सही तरह the sphere of influence that God has given to them. If I were to recite over here, you would go with tears in your eyes. But एक सुन लीजिएगा, एक मर्तबा इब्न उतैबा कहता है कि I was sitting with the fifth Imam. Somebody comes to him and says, Ya Ibn Rasulullah, I'm your muhib, I love you. I regard you above everybody, you and your entire family. After Allah and the Holy Prophet, it's you. But I have a major problem. Imam says, what is it? He says, I had a father. I was a Shia, but my father was not a Shia. He used to love Bani Umayyah. Now this is the fifth Imam, yeah? Just the transition phase between Bani Umayyah and Bani Abbas. My father was a follower of Bani Umayyah, and he would regard the Bani Umayyah superior to the Ahlul Bayt. I was the opposite. I always regarded the Ahlul Bayt and you people to be superior to Bani Umayyah. As a result of it, between me and my father, jam nahi raha tha. And because you had taught us to be respectful to the father, I would be respectful. But he didn't have those sort of teachings, so he would do dhulm upon me. He would oppress me. He would trouble me, despite the fact that I was the only son. When he came to know that I used to follow you, from then on my life became hell. He would trouble me, he would torture me, he would punish me, and I could not retaliate because you told us even if the parents are kafirs, respect them. So now I'm stuck. This did not even continue during his lifetime. Even after death, this continued. He says, how? He says, my father was very wealthy. And just to take spite out on me, for me following the Ahlul Bayt and him following the Bani Umayyah, he had a huge cache of money. He hid it somewhere that I don't know, and he died just so that I don't get any money from what he has. Out of animosity towards the Ahlul Bayt and animosity towards me, that why am I following the Ahlul Bayt? And Ya Ibn Rasulullah, I'm in a very bad state. I looked everywhere, but I don't know where he's kept it. I have a feeling he's buried it somewhere, but we have a massive garden, but you can't just dig up the whole garden. I don't know where he's kept it. Imam says, you really need the money. He says, Ya Ibn Rasulullah, you know better than me. Now this you know better than me, ya kabhi hum batayenge aapko ki how they know better than us. So he says, okay, you want to find out where he's kept the money? He says, yes. So that would mean that you would want to meet your father? He says, yes. But Ya Ibn Rasulullah, he's passed away. He said, would you want to meet your father? He says, yes. He called the servant, get me a piece of paper. Gets him the piece of paper. He writes something on it. He folds a piece of paper. Then he tells the servant, get me my seal. पुराने ज़माने में खत के पीछे मोहर लगाते थे. You sign over and you rubber stamp. वहाँ मोहर होती थी. रसूल खुदा की मोहर होती थी. इमाम अली अलैहिस्सलाम की. So he sealed the paper with his name, Muhammad ibn Ali al-Baqir. He says, take this, go to Baqi. ये मदीना का वाक़या. He says, go to Baqi in the middle of the night. Stand in Baqi and call out, Ya Darjan, come to me because I'm the messenger of Muhammad ibn Ali. He says, Baqi? He says, yes. In the middle of the night? He says, yes. Call out this name, Darjan. A person with a white amama will appear before you. Tell him whatever you want. So he takes it. Imam tha, le liya unhone. That night he goes to the Qabristan in Baqi. He goes to Baqi. Now he leaves the company. Now this Ibn Utayba is mentioning this. Said, I heard the Imam say this. I saw the Imam write the letter, seal it, give it to him, go to Baqi in the middle of the night, call out, Ya Darjan. Somebody with a white amama will come. Ask him whatever you want. So that person went away. Now Ibn Utayba is saying, I'm anxious to know what happened. So next day I came early in the morning because it was said that when you finish, come back to me tomorrow. I will come to you tomorrow. So Ibn Utayba knew that something would happen at night and he would come to give the report to Imam Baqir alayhi salam. He says, Savere jaldi jo hai, early morning I stood up outside the door of the house of Imam Baqir alayhi salam. Whenever this person would come, I would get to know what has happened. He says, to my astonishment, jaldi pauncha, I reached early, but I saw that person was standing over there. A few minutes before he had arrived and was waiting for the permission from the Imam to allow him to enter. He was there, I stood next to him. The Khadim came, he says, okay, Imam is asking you to come inside. So now Ibn Utayba is saying, ask Imam, can I also come? He says, yeah, you also come. Now Ibn Utayba is continuing the narration. He's saying, I saw. Imam says, what happened? He says, Yabna Rasulullah, I took that letter of yours. But before he started, he said one thing. He says, God knows where and with whom He's placed His authority with. Allahu a'lamu haythu yaj'ala risalata. Allah knows where He's placed His authority. He says, tell me what happened. Ibn Utayba is saying, I heard him say, Yabna Rasulullah, I went in the middle of the night to Baqi and I called out, Hey Darjan. As soon as I said this, suddenly an old man with a white amama came before me. He says, you called out to me, what is it? He says, I've got a letter for you from Muhammad ibn Ali al-Baqir alayhi salam. As soon as he saw, initially he was pretty curt. As soon as he heard the name, the demeanor changed. He says, you've come from my Mawla, the hujjat of God, Muhammad ibn Ali al-Baqir alayhi salam. He took that letter, he opened it, he read it, kissed it. He says, so you want to meet your father? He says, yes. He says, wait, I'm coming. This person is not narrating, Ibn Utayba is reporting. He says, I waited, suddenly I saw this Darjan come with somebody, a man in an ajib state. From head to toe, he was smoldering. His face covered with soot, as if he's been burnt. Chains around his neck. Out of thirst, his tongue stretching out of his mouth. And you could say this person is in absolute anguish. So Darjan comes, this person asks him, who is this? He says, you wanted to meet your father, he's your father. Person says, I could not recognize my father. You could actually see signs of punishment on him. So I turned to him and said, Hal anta abi? Are you my father? He says, I'm your father. He says, what state have you been fallen into? He said, don't tell me. I know it is my fault. He says, why is it? It is that following of Bani Umayyah that is leading me to this. And because of my love for Bani Umayyah over the Ahlul Bayt, I had hidden 150,000 dinars so that you don't get one single dirham and one single dinar. But I've realized over there my fault. I've realized I was at mistake. And it is the Ahlul Bayt who control everything by the power of God and the permission of God. Go to Fulan portion of my garden. There is an olive tree. Under that olive tree, if you dig, you will find 150,000 dinars. Out of that 150,000 dinars, give 50,000 to Imam Baqir alayhi salam. 100,000 is for you. He says, Yabna Rasulullah, as soon as I spoke to him, I went, I dug up the amount, I dug up the place, I found 150,000. This is that 50,000, he wanted to give it to you because he's realized that you are the hujjat of God. Having said that, he goes away. Ibn Utayba says, will this money help out that man in the punishment that he is there? He says, anybody who does a favor for us, Allah will show His mercy upon them. This is the maqam of the Ahlul Bayt. We can't take this within our hearts and go away. This needs to be transferred to our kids. They are not exposed to all of these things, and that's why you find all these deviant ideologies spoiling their minds. Having said this, we take this opportunity to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our ibadat for today and grant us tawfiq to be from amongst the group of people who will be resurrected with Imam Baqir alayhi salam. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم غفر الله لنا ولكم والحمد لله رب العالمين.